All right, we're going to shift gears entirely here. America meets the Nano, a huge hit in India. Tata's pint-sized car is looking to break into the U.S. market, and with a price tag of $2,500, it's beginning to draw some notice. And we love to put this large man, Phil LeBeau, into these small cars. And he's in Detroit, where the car was unveiled last night. And we pull out the Mr. Incredible in his little compact whenever we go to you on things like this, Phil. I know that there you are. You probably don't have a monitor, but we have your face superimposed on Mr. Incredible.
Come on. We're superheroes. What could happen?
Anyway, Phil,
Even better, you picked the Mr. Incredible who's out of shape. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, exactly. The one that we saw your feet beneath that car when you drove away before. I mean, do you like that car?
Listen, it's going to be. There are a lot of jokes about the fact that the Nano is so small and it's so inexpensive. But here it is. This is the first one direct from India here at the Tata Technologies headquarters in the Detroit area. They shipped it in, and it just arrived yesterday, and we were the first ones to have a chance to drive this car. When you take a look at this car, and when we drove it, a couple of things stood out. First of all, the 4-speed Nano gets 50 miles to the gallon in the city, 70 miles per gallon on the highway. Folks, it has plenty of zip. We had a chance to drive it around the headquarters here. The Nano is 10 feet long, 5 feet wide. Tata claims that this car is about 20% more spacious than the current smallest car that's out on the market. And fact of the matter is, I'm 6'1". I felt extremely comfortable on the inside. I did not feel cramped. Why is the Nano so important? Well, it's getting a ton of attention ever since it was introduced in India. In India, it's been on sale since the spring of 2009. Price tag, $2,500. They call it the people's car because Ratan Tata wanted to take families who were on motorbikes, families of 4 or 5 who would be zipping around on motorbikes, and said, listen, there's got to be a way to put these families in a car, a relatively inexpensive car. $2,500 is the price tag. The question that I'm going to hear from a lot of people, 2 things. One, how does it drive? What's the interior look like? It's a limited display panel on the Tata Nano. It'll sell in the U.S. potentially in 3 to 4 years. Now, we say potentially because Ratan Tata himself has said, I think that we can bring it to the U.S. Clearly, there's going to have to be some modifications. Guys, back live here in Novi, Michigan. Let me show you the inside of the Nano. Look at the display panel. It's a very limited display panel. You've got the speedometer, your basic functions in terms of air conditioning, heat. That's it.
It's got an air conditioner?
And otherwise, yes, it does. Wow. Otherwise, what you have is a very basic car. But you guys have to remember, this car has been outfitted. It's from the Indian market. Clearly, if it were to come to the United States, if the Nano were to be sold in the United States, they would have to upgrade the interior. There would have to also be some other changes. $2,500 also, while that's the price in India, most are saying it's going to have to be at least $3,500 or $4,500 once you make those changes here in the United States. But there is no doubt there's a ton of attention, and Ratan Tata has said he would like to bring it to the United States potentially in 3 to 4 years.
Hey, Phil, I know you said you're very comfortable in it, but when you push the seat back to make room for your 6'1" frame, is there still room behind you for an adult to sit in the car?
Yeah, look at this. Here's the back seat, guys. I know it's a little dark out here. Bear in mind, it's still dark here in the Detroit area. Yeah. Plenty of room. I mean, I can sit in the back here.
Yeah, let's see.
I mean, this is not like I'm cramped.
All right, that proves it.
Am I sitting in the lap of... Guys, am I sitting in the lap of luxury? No. But I'm also not sitting in a tin can where I'm like, I'm cramped in here. This is not comfortable at all. The fit and finish, certainly not up to the standards that would be expected by Americans, but that's one of the things that would probably change if the Nano was ever sold in the U.S.
Yeah, Phil, I think the key word you said is the target market for this is somebody on a moped. And to go from a moped to a 2500 Nano makes complete sense in India. I would predict by the time you configure this vehicle to meet U.S. emission, safety, and most important, consumer preference, even trying to hit an aggressive price target, this vehicle is going to be pushing $8,000, $9,000, $10,000.
Really?
And even the way you have it configured there today is a dramatic upgrade from a $2,500 Nano that's actually on the streets.
Absolutely.
The engine's bigger, this is bigger, this is bigger. I mean, when you look at the one that's $2,500, I mean, it's a step up from a moped, which is great for India, and that's what they should do. But you will not see one anywhere near that price point in the U.S.
that's why it's such a huge hit, not only in India, but in developing markets.
Yes.
People are clamoring for this. You know, I know a lot of times here in the United States, we sit there and say, why can't we have a less expensive car here in the United States? The fact of the matter, this industry is focused on bringing people into a car who are on mopeds, and in developing markets, there's a huge opportunity.
Yes, if you've ever driven around a developing country, it's like people aren't driving anything else.
Right.
They're all on two wheels. Phil, fascinating
And
look
guys,
at the car. Yeah.
Hey, Carl, one last thing. Let's be clear. This is an actual model from India. This is what it looks like in India. This is not one that's been upgraded for the United States. It costs them $2,500 to buy it, but here's my favorite statistic of the day. $6,000 to ship it to the United States here at Technologies.
Tax, title, and license. Thanks very much, Phil. Phil LeBeau joining us from Detroit with a fascinating look at the Nano from Tata.